Hello and welcome to Your Government in Action, a presentation of Bahamas Information Services. I'm Carissa Williamson. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, addressed the nation on April 9, 2025, concerning the new U.S. tariffs and how it could affect the Bahamas. In his address, Prime Minister Davis outlined his administration's response to trade policy changes, as well as steps to protect local industries while maintaining the diplomatic ties to the United States.
As many of you know, 1 week ago, the United States announced new tariffs, marking a major shift in U.S. trade policy. I want to emphasize that the Bahamas has had a friendly and productive relationship with the United States for many decades. Trade, tourism, investments, cultural exchanges, these are all important aspects of our long-standing relations with our closest neighbor. This is a mutually beneficial relationship, one which will endure. But it's important to be straightforward with you about how the new tariffs will affect us. The changes and the turbulence in global markets which has followed mean we are now facing new and very significant challenges. I've been talking to leaders of other countries, reaching out to the executives in our business communities, and consulting with economists and trade experts to assess the likely impact and to plan for multiple scenarios. A new 10% base rate tariff for goods imported into the United States now applies to more than 100 countries, including ours. Other countries are also subject to additional or higher tariffs. If the 10% tariff on Bahamian goods imported into the United States remains, Bahamian exporters in multiple industries will soon feel the impact. We have been in contact with U.S. officials regarding the change in policy, and we are working with fellow Caribbean countries on collective diplomatic efforts. We are also speaking with Bahamian exporters and working to understand whether there are short-term policies we could enact to cushion the fallout. My government has taken trade diversification seriously from the start, which means that for the first time, our country has in place an agency dedicated to expanding trading opportunities and a national trade policy. Significant efforts to create new trade relationships were already underway, and those efforts will now be intensified. The new tariffs are likely to cause new inflationary pressures, which would mean higher prices for Bahamian consumers. For a country like ours, higher prices will add to what is already an unbearable high cost of living. We are very concerned about the impact on Bahamian families. One of the key drivers of high prices in the Bahamas for both families and businesses has been the cost of electricity, which is why we have worked hard to create our country's first nationwide comprehensive energy reforms. Much needed and long overdue upgrades to the electricity grid are underway, and today, in fact, we are signing a number of additional agreements to power our islands with solar energy. I won't sugarcoat the dangers we are facing right now due to the escalating trade tensions around the world. But I'm thankful we will face this new crisis with these crucial price-reducing energy reforms in motion. In addition, the VAT reduction on all food sold in our markets is providing some relief. We understand how hard it is to make ends meet, and we will continue to look for opportunities to reduce the burdens of high prices. We will also intensify and speed up our efforts to grow more of what we eat at home. Another significant risk to the Bahamas is that a slowdown in the U.S. economy will slow our tourism industry. We will be convening industry leaders as we evaluate options for mitigating the risk we face. If the new tariffs are not significantly unchanged as U.S. policy evolves. Earlier this week, the International Credit Agency, Moody's, upgraded our country's credit rating to positive. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, this was very welcome news and a reflection of the hard work we have done together to grow our economy, reduce our deficit, implement key fiscal reforms, and tackle rather than ignore our country's long-standing electricity problems. At the same time, Moody's noted that our country remains vulnerable to external shocks, something that unfortunately every Bahamian understands well. I've worked hard to fight for fair climate finance because our country has lost billions in direct economic costs and in higher interest rates because of hurricanes. Billions we could have otherwise have invested in our people and country. Today, we face new risks amid enormous uncertainty. The U.S. tariffs are the highest they have been in more than a century. And since then, of course, the world's economies and supply chains have become intertwined in complex ways, making it difficult to predict with precision what happens next. Brothers and sisters, we may be in uncharted territory, but we know how to survive storms. We have always found a way to create opportunities out of uncertainty, to forge clarity and purpose from chaos and confusion. I've seen Bahamians show enormous strength and ingenuity during the most difficult times. Together, we can trust in God's grace and take comfort in knowing our fellow Bahamians are capable of great compassion and resilience. As one nation, together, we will pursue a constructive path forward as we seek blessings and prosperity for all of our citizens and for all of our neighbors, including our friends in the United States of America.
With the goal of improving training tools and strategies, a one-day empowerment workshop was held for the instructors of the Helping Young People Excel program. An opening ceremony for the program, designed to engage and empower the young people of the nation, was held at the Paul Farquharson Conference Center on April 10th, 2025.
We all have the very same mission, and that is to ensure that when we are old, there are people to pay our pensions and to look after us. The only way we're going to ensure that there are people to pay our pension and to look after us is if we ensure that young people excel. And it's as simple as that, because they are all that we have. And that is the approach that certainly I take. And I know my colleague, the Minister of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin, takes. When Commander Duncan advanced the, I don't know what you call that, but the little symbol for hype, there were a number of them. But the whole concept there is that all of those children are different. Every single one is different. But they all must excel if we are to excel as a country. It is unfortunate that children lose the joys of youth earlier today than in our day, with abuse, physical, mental, and sexual, and with predatory practices from gangs. That's the environment in which they are growing up and surviving. But it's for us to ensure that they are protected and that they are guided. This was a very easy fit for me. For the last 2.5 decades in the ministry at my church, St. Margaret's Anglican Church, is to work with the altar servers, the young people who serve around the altar. And that showed me quite simply the children really are only looking for assistance. They all have things that they like. They all want to do right, but they will be guided by whoever is most persistent. And so the challenge for you is to be the person who is most persistent. I think all of you in law enforcement understand that concept, that you can't just do it once and then stop. It's repetition that causes it to stick. And so the challenge for this program is to do just that, help young people excel. The Prime Minister, Philip Edward Brave Davis, has a focus on youth. All you need to do is see him when young people are doing anything and look at his face, and you will think that all of these children are his children or grandchildren. But the focus of this government in addressing crime, in particular for my ministry, because as Minister Martin says, this was a program developed by the Ministry of National Security and generously hosted by the Ministry of Education, participated in by the Ministry of Health and the other agency, making it a whole of government effort. But this is a part of the prevention pillar of the crime plan. As Minister Martin says, it is a lot better that we intervene now. And the persons at the Department of Corrections know it costs a lot to house an inmate. And so the Prime Minister's drive and approach is that instead of spending all of this money on chasing, locking up, on housing persons, we have to have as much a focus in preventing them getting to that point in the first place. And this program is a program that complements the Rangers program for the Defense Force, the cadet program for the police force. It starts at a lower level, and it's designed to prevent young people, not from going wrong, I would say, but from being distracted by bad actors. All of us are born innocent. When you're born, you're an innocent child. You learn bad habits along the way. And so the challenge here is to stop them succumbing to bad influence. And I thank all of you for your effort, because it takes a special type to work with children, I know. Many times at St. Margaret's, I have to walk outside in the parking lot and walk around and then come back inside. It takes a lot to work with children, but I've found it to be very rewarding because they will reward you for your effort. They will reward you by their accomplishments. You will be able to say someday, 5, 6, 7 years from now, I had a part to play in the life of that young man, that young woman.
More of Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. The government of the Bahamas has signed an agreement for new energy generation in New Providence. The initiative includes renewable energy solutions paired with energy storage systems, signaling a step forward in the country's push for sustainable power. The signing took place at the office of the Prime Minister on April 9th, 2025.
A few minutes ago, we signed partnerships to deliver solar power to New Providence. Now, we gathered to deliver LNG and solar power on the islands of Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma. Obviously, both LNG and solar power have huge roles to play in our plans. Using the sun to generate energy in the islands of the sun, sand, and sea simply makes sense. It is past time for us to fulfill our potential for more sustainable, renewable energy in our nation. We have expedited progress across all fronts, expanding our LNG and solar capacity throughout New Providence and the Family Islands to ensure that every major island in our archipelago feels the impact of our energy reforms. We envision a future with solar microgrids on every major family island, integrated seamlessly with cleaner fuels and a modern grid to power local economies. Today, we take another significant step toward this brighter energy future as we enter into two partnerships that will transform energy access and affordability in Abaco, Eleuthera, and the Exumas. So much has changed in just a few years. When this administration took office in 2021, we inherited a broken energy system and crumbling power infrastructure, a power company more than $500 million in debt, and electricity costs that placed too much strain on local households. In both New Providence and our family islands, the situation was dire, with generation engines that needed complete replacement and transmission systems vulnerable to the increasingly more powerful and more frequent storms that threaten our nation. The complexity of these challenges call for bold, forward-thinking solutions that would not merely address our immediate needs, but would position the Bahamas as a leader in sustainable energy development in our region. Today, I'm proud to announce that we are partnering with Ygia Energy to develop a solar and LNG-powered microgrid in Abaco and Eleuthera. And we are partnering with Exuma's Renewable Energy Corporation to set up a microgrid in Exuma. These partnerships will transform power generation on these islands as we introduce LNG and utility-scale solar to these islands. In Wilson City, Abaco, EA Energy will develop a 30-megawatt LNG generation facility, complemented by a 13.3 megawatts of solar power and a 15-megawatt battery energy storage system. In Hatchet Bay, Eleuthera, they will build a 14.7 megawatts LNG generation plant with 10 megawatts of solar capacity and a 5-megawatt battery system. In Georgetown, Exuma, the Exuma's Renewable Energy Corporation will deliver 8.5 megawatts of LNG generation, 3 megawatts of solar, and 6 megawatts of battery storage capacity. These upgrades reflect our belief that as we roll out our energy reforms, the family islands deserve the same quality and reliability of energy as New Providence. Across our nation, I'm told stories of struggle from residents about the burden of high electricity costs on their families and businesses. The high costs that force some people to choose between buying groceries or paying their light bills. The outages that leave families sweating during the summer months, and businesses absorbing the costs of lost inventory and appliances. It is impossible to hear these stories and not feel moved to make a difference. That is why the only model for energy reform I was willing to accept is one that could deliver relief as quickly as possible for as many people as possible and as many islands as possible. This meant that these reforms had to be comprehensive, feasible for short and long-term impact, and pursued just as aggressively in our family islands as they are in New Providence. We are tackling the whole energy sector, from the way we generate and store energy to the way we transmit and distribute it. We are transforming it all. Working along with partners like EA Energy, the Exuma's Renewable Energy Corporation, and others who have brought into our vision and understand our passion for a more affordable, more stable, and more inclusive future for all Bahamians.
Child protection officials continue their push to protect the nation's children from harm, powered by hope and strengthened by prevention, with the annual April observance of Child Protection Month. Minister of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting, the Honorable Miles Zarota, said the observance provides an opportunity for all stakeholders to come together to reflect, raise awareness, and most importantly, commit across all sectors to the protection of the nation's children. Minister Zarota also noted that Child Protection Month is a chance to reaffirm the sacred shared responsibility to nurture, guide, and safeguard the youngest members of society. Our Matt Mora has more.
The commemoration of the month is backed up by year-round interventions and/or collaborations between child protection officials and stakeholders across all sectors of society. Mr. Zarota said child protection is not solely the responsibility of any one profession or agency, but everyone. He was addressing the annual Child Protection Month church service held at Bible Truth Ministries, Cowpen Road.
I'm reminded of the wisdom in Proverbs 31:8, which says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." This is our call to action as a community. We are called to speak for those who are vulnerable, to stand up for the children who may not yet have a voice, but whose lives are precious and deserving of our protection. This occasion provides us with an opportunity to reaffirm the sacred responsibility we all share to nurture, guide, safeguard the youngest members of our society.
Minister LaRota said the 2025 theme, Powered by Hope, Strengthened by Prevention, is a profound reminder of the dual pillars upon which effective child protection is built.
Hope represents the unwavering belief that every child deserves a future filled with opportunity, safety, and love. We must also be strengthened by prevention. This means, as a community, we need to prioritize early intervention and support for families before challenges escalate into crisis. It means strengthening our child protection system by strengthening staff capacity with consistent specialized training, improving stakeholder networks, enforcing legislation, refining research and data collection methods, among other factors. It also means ensuring that every child has the resources, support, and guidance they need to succeed. Prevention represents the proactive steps we must take individually and collectively to avert harm and ensure that children grow up in environments where they are protected from neglect, abuse, and trauma. This can only happen through a concerted effort by private and public sector and committed community involvement.
Minister LaRota applauded the efforts of the many professionals and community members whose dedication and tireless efforts, he said, are at the forefront of child protection. These include, but are not limited to, teachers, guidance counselors, law enforcement officials, healthcare professionals, social workers, and parents, whom he said are the first and most important protectors of their children.
Today, each of these individuals and professionals make an immeasurable impact in our collective mission to protect children and strengthen families.
Hosted by the Child Protection and Child Care Facilities units of the Department of Social Services, Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting, in collaboration with the Suspected Child Abuse and Neglect Unit of the Department of Public Health, Ministry of Health, the event was attended by teachers, guidance counselors, parents, and students from both public and private school sectors in New Providence, a number of whom played key roles in the church service. As a reminder, if you know of or suspect that a child is being abused, please call the toll-free hotline 711. That's 711 from anywhere in the Bahamas. Your call may save and or change a child's life, not to mention inspire hope that someone truly cares. For your government in action, I'm Matt Mora.
The government of the Bahamas also signed agreements for the development of mini grids and clean energy generation in the Family Islands. The signing took place at the Office of the Prime Minister on April 9, 2025, and covers projects featuring clean fuels and energy storage systems in Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma.
Again, it is a pleasure to be here with you today as we sign 3 power purchase agreements, or PPAs, with EA Energy and the Exuma's Renewable Energy Corporation. And these projects will be specifically for the islands of Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma. I'm delighted to be joined by the respective members of Parliament for those islands who I acknowledge are strongly committed to enhancing the energy security of the communities and the people that they represent. I wish to publicly thank all of the MPs for their support. I also wish to extend my gratitude to other stakeholders, EA Energy and the Exuma's Renewable Energy Corporation, BPL, the executives, the staff, and the board of BPL, the Energy Committee, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Office of the Attorney General, the Ministry of Energy and Transport, and the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources. Today's signing emanates from the request for proposals for Family Island new energy generation via microgrids, clean fuel, and renewables that was launched in 2023 by the government of the Bahamas and BPL. The goal of the RFP was to identify independent power producers, projects to offer electricity generation with clean fuel, renewables, and battery energy storage systems in our Family Islands. These projects will regulate resource management, install energy storage capacity, facilitate new generation capabilities, and enhance sustainability efforts. Further, the development of the microgrids on these various islands will ensure consistent and reliable power output for its inhabitants 24 hours a day. The requirement for battery energy storage systems to be incorporated in each project is crucial for us to ensure seamless backup power in the event of a loss of the primary generation system. To ensure the success of these projects, microgrid controllers will be employed across all microgrids around the Family Islands. This will improve efficiency, maximize savings, and increase reliability by alerting BPL of any outages or changes to the system. To ensure the successful day-to-day operation of the microgrid, BPL staff on their respective islands will be trained to assist with the management and operation of these new systems. BPL will sign today 2 PPAs with EA Energy, one for Abaco and the other for Eleuthera. In Abaco, the goal is 30 megawatts of LNG generation with 13.3 megawatts solar and 15 megawatt hours battery energy storage system. In Eleuthera, the focus is 19.97 megawatt LNG generation with 8.7 megawatt solar and 10 megawatt hours battery energy storage systems. The PPAs with the Exuma's Renewable Energy Corporation will include 8.5 megawatt LNG generation, 3 megawatt solar, and 6 megawatt hours of battery energy storage systems. As I've said before, all PPAs include clearly defined key performance indicators and penalties for non-performance. Further, clear provisions have also been included to lock down rates, which will ultimately protect Bahamian households and businesses. In signing these PPAs, we're taking a pivotal step forward in the transition to cleaner and more efficient fuels in our Family Islands. For the respective islands, the Davis administration understands the importance of a stable supply of energy for the students studying at night for exams at North Eleuthera High. We understand that the owner of TKL Dessert Shop in Tarpon Bay, Eleuthera, requires consistent energy to bake bread and to keep the coffee hot for her patrons. For shopkeepers, like the owner of Abaco Groceries in Marsh Harbor, Abaco or Prime Island Meats and Deli in Hoopers Bay, Exuma, reliable energy is needed to keep the meat frozen and dairy products cool. And for the senior citizen coping with illness, stable electricity is required to keep the insulin medication at the right temperature. As we pursue our energy goals, these are the considerations and so many others that guide us and electrify our work. I thank you.
I'm Carissa Williamson, and this has been Your Government in Action, a proud presentation of Bahamas Information Services. Join us on Tuesday evenings where we bring you highlights, coverage, and information as we continue to do what we do best, linking people and government.